Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast. Today is Thursday, September the 11th, 2025. I am recording this when there's about 51 minutes left until the stock market closes today. So it's about 1:09 p.m. my time. I'm in Mountain Time. As of right now, the three major market indexes are all up, having a nice day, especially the Dow from a percentage standpoint. The Dow is doing better than anything else, up a little over 1.25%, almost 1.33%. I have not. I confess I have not been watching the markets all day. I saw the Dow Jones early today go up to 500 plus points, and as you can see here, since it made that initial climb in the first about hour of trading, it has stayed pretty much right in that spot. That's one of the flattest plateaus you'll ever see on a one-day Dow Jones Industrial Average chart. I believe the other indexes have behaved similarly today. They had a rapid rise in the first 30 minutes to an hour of trading, and then fairly steady. That's similar. Little bit of a rockier climb up on the Nasdaq over that first maybe hour and a half, but again, relatively steady since then. A lot of this news, a lot of what's moving the markets today is a combination of the news that we got yesterday, specifically the news regarding the PPI numbers coming in quite a bit better than what was expected. And then today, it was a combination of the CPI numbers not being super bad. The month over month was a little tiny bit higher than expected. The year over year was in line, and everything else basically from there was in line. So only the month over month was just a little tiny bit hot. I would call it a relatively in line report with what the expectations were, with the month over month only being ever so slightly hotter than expected. And then when that is combined with the jobless claims, a number that was higher than expected. The prior number had very little revision, barely 1,000, but the consensus was 234. It came in at 263. So this continues to add to the narrative of a weakening job market, and it's the concern over that weakening job market that is the optimism in the market. It just solidifies what we've already been suspecting for at least a week, if not more, and that is that right now betting odds are 100% that the Fed will cut rates. I think the ever so slightly hot month over month CPI number caused this to go from 88 back up to 92, meaning the vast majority of people are in the camp that we're going to get a 25 basis point cut, and not as many. This was 11% just at the open of the market this morning. And as these news reports or these economic reports were being digested, this has gone down a little bit and this has gone up a little bit. So that's primarily what's driving the markets. On the Dow Jones Industrial Average, you've got a couple of companies, two or three companies, that are probably accounting for more than half of the move up. That would be specifically United Health is up 2.5% today. Home Depot, which is also, they're more heavily weighted than United Health, and they're up a little over 2.5%. And then Sherwin-Williams, of all things, I mean, they're not a company that I'm honestly not sure why they're on the Dow, but they're up 3%, and they're a moderate to heavily weighted company. It helps that Goldman Sachs is up almost 2%, and I believe Goldman is the heaviest weighted stock in the Dow Jones Industrial Average by a pretty good margin. Goldman Sachs is 1, Microsoft is 2, Caterpillar 3, Home Depot 4. So you've got 3 of those 4 heaviest weighted companies. In fact, all 4 of those heaviest weighted companies are up, with Microsoft being the only one that's close to flat. So that's why the Dow is up as much as it is, and why it's a bigger percentage than the other markets. Yesterday, you got an email from me yesterday saying that I was not going to go live today or tomorrow. It's a combination of reasons, and I appreciate you. All of my members of the program, everyone that listens to this podcast, I appreciate you respecting that. No one has given me any grief over it. I haven't had any personal messages or any emails. There's not a lot of you that tune in and listen when we're on live. But those of you that do, I appreciate it, and I appreciate your flexibility and patience. Yesterday, I know you're all aware of the news yesterday that Charlie Kirk was shot and killed. This hit home in a very personal way. I don't personally know Charlie Kirk. I'm a big fan of his. I absolutely love the guy. There aren't very many people that are 25 to 30 years younger than me that I genuinely look up to, and he is one, maybe the only one, that is that much younger than me that I look up to, and have a tremendous amount of respect for. It figuratively and literally struck very close to home, because Utah Valley University campus is barely over 10 miles away from my home. And while I did not know it at the time, I found out once I heard the news and found out what had happened and found out what time he had been shot. I was less than a quarter of a mile from where it happened when it happened. I was on the highway that goes right past Utah Valley University on my way down to my daughter's house. And at 12:20 p.m. local time where I'm at, I was literally beside the campus. If I could have taken a golf club out of my car, can't do it in the middle of the highway, but if I could have set up a golf mat where I was at that time, I probably could have reached the event with one good drive and one good 8 or 9 iron. I probably could have been right in the middle of that event. That's how close I was. I was maybe double the distance from what they're saying the shooter was. And so I have a lot of people that I know that were at the event live and were there to witness it happen. And it's just absolutely horrifying. It's just absolutely tragic. And my heart is very heavy right now. Not only the fact that this happened, that it happened, so geographically, so close to home. So that is weighing on me a little bit. And then today's the anniversary of 9/11, of the Twin Towers coming down. I'm always a little bit somber on this day. Hearts and prayers go out to everyone who was directly affected by that. If you had friends or family, people that you knew, we were all as a country very affected by it. But, special prayers go out to those that were directly impacted by it and had a personal relationship of any kind with someone that was lost on that day. So I had all of that going on. And then tomorrow's my anniversary. I kind of wanted the flexibility. I'm going to make my wife breakfast in bed. I'm going to do all that stuff that a good husband should do. And I didn't want to be tied into having to be on live right at 8 a.m. my time. So that's why I'm recording yesterday and today. This is a market-related podcast. I always try and keep it very market-related. When I mix politics in, it is usually, I would say that most of the time when I mix politics in, I try and do it in a way that tells you how political things will or could or are currently affecting the markets. And so I don't make a secret of where my personal politics are. I don't try and hide it. I'm okay if you don't agree with me on political things. Our goal is to make money in the market and to navigate these markets as best as we possibly can. And I hope that's what all of you are doing. But today I just want to end on this note. Let me bring it back around to the markets. There's nothing we need to do in the way of adjustments right now today that could change tomorrow. I may roll out Microsoft another week, try and pick up another credit on one more week of a bear call spread on that. I might let it expire tomorrow. Same thing with AMD. I might let it expire. We might have to roll it out. AMD is a little bit closer to the money. It's a little bit closer than where we want it to be. Yesterday at the open of the market, AMD shot up past both our short and long call strikes in a bear call that we have on that. And then today, at the end of the day yesterday, it was back under the 160 mark, and today it's a good $3.50, almost $4 below the 160 mark. We'll have to watch AMD closely. If AMD does not move above 160 tomorrow, I'm going to let it expire. Microsoft, I might roll out another week. I'll make that determination tomorrow in the first maybe 15 to 30 minutes that the market is open. because I will be paying attention to what the market is doing. I'll be watching and paying attention. So nothing else needs to be adjusted right now. So let me shift back a little bit to yesterday and the events that happened. And I'm just going to share my opinion with you. You can turn off the recording right now. If you don't want to hear anything political, go ahead and end this. But it's becoming, I think for all of us, not just for me, I think I'm speaking for a lot of us, it's becoming more and more concerning that we can't have political disagreements that don't come to violence for too many people. Now, there are a lot of us who can, but there's a growing number of people in this country that are unable to separate the emotions and the feelings they have from actual actions. And that is certainly the case with whoever perpetrated this heinous act and this horrible thing. I don't care if you absolutely despise everything that Charlie Kirk stood for. If you disagreed with him on every single opinion that he had, it's still no justification for what happened yesterday. And I'm so fearful that more and more people are going to the greater extremes on one side of the political aisle or the other. And that ultimately, if you get too far on the extremes, it turns into something violent. It's got to stop. I hope as members of the SOS program, because this podcast doesn't go to people way out beyond those that are in the SOS program. But for those of you that are, I hope you understand and know that when I do get political, and sometimes I get a little bit passionate, sometimes I get a little bit heated up, I don't ever wish violence on people who disagree with me. I don't ever wish something bad to happen to someone who doesn't share my opinion. I have a strong opinion on things. I voice that opinion sometimes. I don't like some policies that negatively affect the market, and I am a big proponent of policies that positively affect the market, and even individual stocks that I own and trade. And but hopefully, when I do occasionally wax political, when I occasionally say something that is political, and my politics shine through, and you know which side of the aisle I am on. Hopefully that it's never ever intended to cause any bad feelings between us, that it's never a matter of I might think you're wrong in the way you look at something, but I hope that never prevents us from being friends. I hope it never stops us from still getting along and being able to have a lot of things in common that are outside of politics. Thoughts and prayers with Charlie Kirk's wife and children, the people that were closest to him, his other family members, his close friends. What a tragic loss! What a tragic, horrible thing. And I hope some good comes from it. I hope something positive happens in the discourse in this country and the way we treat each other as a result of it. I'm going to sign off right there. Sometime tomorrow, it'll probably be closer to the time the market closes. I will do a podcast to wrap up the week. And then Monday next week, I'm going to be in San Francisco all week. I'm probably going to do a recording instead of a live presentation on more than one day, but I'll give you a heads up and keep you posted on that as I decide to do it. Thanks, everybody. Have a good rest of your day. Bye-bye.